What's going on, Wolves and Warriors? My name's Jay Stewart, and this is the Better Body Academy podcast, the #1 show for those looking to permanently overhaul their mind and body without dumb diets and unsustainable workout programs. We banish the fitness industry BS and replace it with science-backed strategies proven through countless client transformations. In the Better Body Academy, we help busy men and women around the world get unstuck and back into momentum so they start feeling strong and sexy again. Our mission is to transform 1 million lives, and you, my friend, could be next. And on that note, let's get straight into today's show. Guys, welcome to the Better Body Academy podcast, the podcast where you come when you're sick of the dumb diets and unsustainable workout programs. My name is Jace, and I'm here to serve. So guys, before we get into today's episode, what I do want to do is just really thank a bunch of you. I think we've got like 25 reviews at the moment on the Apple Podcast player. I really appreciate those reviews, guys. It just helps to get the podcast out there and let a lot of guys know about what we're doing here. So we're joined in Facebook and Instagram, as well as obviously the podcast themselves. So if you're watching live, thanks for coming in. Guys, if you do want to leave a review, all you need to do is go to the all episodes part of the podcast, and you just basically scroll down to the bottom, and there's just a little section there that you can leave a review, make a comment, or do whatever you want to do. And if you do that, guys, it's super appreciative. But let's get stuck into today's topic. In today's episode, guys, what I want to talk about is the 6 lessons that I personally have learned and want to share from coaching over 500 clients. Now, 500 clients that have been from all walks of life, that have wanted to do this because they wanted to lose some belly fat, that wanted to lose a bit of, make a bit of muscle, whatever it was for you. People from different stretches, different parts of the world, and I've condensed them down into 6 ideas that I want to share today because I think they're super important. And do you know when you speak to your parents, okay, and your parents say, you should do this and you should do that and you should do this and you should do that, and you're thinking to yourself, oh, shut up, Dad. And then 20 years on, all of the things that your dad told you are actually true. Well, I want this episode to be a little bit like that because really the benefit of hindsight is massive. It's massive. I've been doing this in a part-time fashion for, let's say, since 2004 or 5 when I first graduated. But then more recently, over the last couple of years with the Better Body Academy going full-time, you learn the lessons very quickly. And so I want to share those lessons with you now, okay? Now, we're going to approach this from a higher level, okay? We're not going to be talking about things like, oh, you need to eat more protein. Like, that's not the goal of this. We're going to be talking about this from a higher level because it's from that higher level, if we get the mindset stuff right, that can trickle down. But if we try to play around these like micro issues, it doesn't work because that's got to force its way up. So we're going to come from the top level here. And what you do is you see a lot of patterns when you've worked with so many different men and women, you see patterns over time. One of my favorite phrases is this idea that success leaves cues. Success leaves cues. And in the same way, failure leaves cues. Success and failure leave cues. This is why one of my gurus, Tony Robbins, talks about modeling, okay? Model what works and don't model what doesn't work, because from both successful clients and those that have struggled, there is lessons to be learned, okay? So I'm going to do my best to point out in this episode what those lessons are, because as Einstein says, the definition of insanity is to repeat the same mistakes that those that have come before you have made. And likewise, it's insanity to keep making the mistakes that you have made in the past and expect a different result. Okay? Now, if you avoid these mistakes and try to kind of take the practical application out of this, hopefully then you can repeat them, you can avoid repeating them in your own life so you don't make the same mistakes again. And you can start to move toward your goal, body, or mindset, or whatever it is that you're actually chasing. Okay, so let's talk. Firstly, I think it's really important that I'm coming at this from both an experience point of view from working with clients. But then in addition to that, I'm coming from the view of mistakes that I've made in my own business experience. Because ironically, one thing that is not acknowledged enough is the same mistakes that are made in business are the same mistakes that are made in health, which are the same mistakes that are made in finances. And it's because these things are governed by high level principles. So, number one in the list of things that I've learned from the 500 clients that we've worked with, number one is that you make the mistake of working really hard on the wrong things. Working really hard on the wrong things. What do I mean by that? I think a lot of people think that if they just go to the gym 5 days a week, they'll get to the body that they want. And so what happens is they lead with incredible work ethic, which is good. Like, you want to have that work ethic in your life. But if you're working really hard on the wrong things, are you going to be likely to be moving closer towards your goals or not? I just want you to imagine that you're digging a hole, and at the bottom of that hole, you have been told that there is gold. There is gold at the bottom of that hole. But you just keep digging the hole, expecting for this gold to eventually show up. But what you don't realize is you're digging in the wrong spot. And that's exactly what's going on when guys and girls continue to work really, really hard on the wrong thing. Now, the number one thing that I see people making a mistake with here is nutrition. Okay? This for me is the challenge with using an in-person, run-of-the-mill personal trainer. Okay? They are not trained in nutrition. More often they've done a 12-week course in something online, and they haven't been taught the fundamentals of nutrition. I had to go to university for 4 years to study nutrition. And what I know is that you just cannot outrun a bad diet. You can't. It doesn't matter how hard you work. Simple. You cannot outrun a bad diet. So if you work really hard on the gym, if you work really hard to clock up enough calories through cardio, if you work really hard on turning up every day at 6 o'clock and going through your paces, but you completely neglect nutrition, I can tell you straight away, you're on a fast track to nowhere. And so when you work really hard on the wrong things, what you need to do is step back and ask yourself, why is this not working? What am I doing wrong here? Because if you start doing the right things, but with maybe even less intensity, you'll be inching towards your goals. You're effectively digging for the gold in the right hole. So that's number one that I've learned, okay? Number two is that you went too hard, too soon, and became a failure. Okay, so let's talk this one through. You went too hard, too soon, and became a failure. I'm going to give you an example of this. One of my very dear friends, when I was living back in Sydney, he decided to draw a line in the sand. He was sick of being overweight. It was impacting upon his confidence. And because it was impacting upon his confidence, he felt like when he'd go out on dates, he was never quite walking in the shoes that he wanted to. He's always kind of feeling, 70 or 80% of himself, not 100% of himself. So what he did was he said, I'm going to go and get in shape. The way he went about that was this. He started training with me at about 6 o'clock in the morning, which was awesome. He'd put the reps in. He then took a personal training session straight after training with me on 3 days a week. He went and did his work day, and then after his work day finished, he come back and went into the gym again and did another bunch of gym sessions or cardio, one of the two. Like, how sustainable do you think it is to train for 3 hours a day when you're a 30, 40, 50, 60-year-old man or woman? It's impossible. It's impossible. So when you go too hard too soon, what happens is this: you develop a failure complex. You've set yourself up at the start. You've set yourself up by doing something that you can't continue. Because you can't continue it, you fail, which is just an action. Failing is just an action. But because you failed, you then identify yourself as a failure, which is an identity. You've gone from just failing to, I am a failure. And when you're in that disengaged position, that disempowered position of being a failure, how hard is it going to be to continue? And again, this is what guys continuously do. They go, how many days a week do you want to train? I want to train 7 days a week. Impossible. Impossible. For me personally, I train 4 days a week on most weeks with a little bit of extra cardio walking in between. Okay, I try to look at my step count. But I know that if I keep saying that I'm going to train 7 days a week and then keep proving to myself that I can't do it, I keep endorsing a story that I'm the sort of guy that says one thing and then does another. I keep proving to myself that I can't be the sort of guy that I tell myself to be. So number two is you go too hard too soon and become a failure as a result of that. Number three is that you keep telling yourself a story and you start to believe that story. So what do I mean by that? Well, let's just pretend who's told themselves a story which is, I'm just like, it's just my genetics. It's just my genetics. Like my genetics are really bad. Like my mom was kind of overweight and my dad didn't have much muscle. And so that's just me, right? It's just my genetics. And what happens is you continue to repeat that story over and over and over again. You become the story. You become the story. And so when you repeat the story over and over again and you become the story, your mind and body know nothing else but living out that story. So you have to cotton on to the stories that you're telling yourself. Everyone knows that you become the product of the people that you hang around. Well, that includes yourself. If you are hanging around a story, which you just constantly around you and surrounding you, you become that story. Now, I'm working with a gentleman at the moment that the story that he is telling himself, and I intend to have a conversation with him about this very soon. So if you're watching, my friend, I'm talking about you, is that I've just got no time. I've just got no time. I've just got no time. That's the facts. I've got no time. If you repeat to yourself over and over and over again that you've got no time, do you think you have any chance of creating time? What you're actually saying, you can't create time. What you're saying is that you are unable to manage your tasks, which is preventing you from prioritizing the things that you want to prioritize. That's what you're actually saying. I've got no time. That doesn't make sense. You've got the same amount of time as every other person. Your responsibilities might be more. You might be in a time of transition, but you have the same amount of time. So to continue to repeat this story of, I've just got no time, I've just got no time, it's a story you're going to start to believe. And once you've endorsed that story, it's very hard to turn back. So number three is stop telling yourself these silly stories. You got to back away from the stories and break the pattern. Number four, in the list of 6 things that I've learned from coaching over 500 clients is this. You didn't lean in and ask for assistance, and instead you suffered in silence. You suffered in silence. Why did you suffer in silence? Because you attached asking for help to having a lack of courage, a lack of ability, to being unintelligent. How ridiculous. How ridiculous. And you know what? I get it because I did the exact same thing. So remember, guys, I'm speaking in hindsight from both my own personal experience and that with clients. Not asking for help means that you don't value your time. You only value your ego. And when you only value your ego and you don't value your time, decades can pass and you stay stuck. So the goal is to get to a point where you do the things that you know how to do very well. And for the things that you want to improve upon that you don't know how to do very well, you ask for help. This is exactly what I did with my business. I was at a point where after 8 years of wasting time trying to be a coach, I finally reached out and got help. the moment I got help, within a year, things completely changed on their head. Like, by it's a different world now. The problem is you have to get to a point where you're courageous enough to say, you know what? I value my time. I'm sick of being in the same spot. I'm going to ask for help. And this is what the good clients do. They put their hand up and they ask for help. All right, number 5. This is a big one, and this is very, very dear to my heart because I think it's the single strongest benefit of the Better Body Academy program, transformation program that we do. You didn't surround yourself with the right people. You didn't surround yourself with the right people who are going to hold you accountable. Now, this is especially true if you are in a relationship where one of you wants to push ahead and push forward, but the other person's just not there yet. That's not a criticism. They're just at a point where they're happy with where they are. This can create a lot of friction, can't it? Where one person wants to pull forward, the other person doesn't want to move. And so the person that doesn't want to move feels threatened, like their partner is leaving them. And the person that's out in front trying to push everything forward feels like I don't want to make my partner feel bad, but I've got to do this for me. So what you have to do is surround yourself with a support network. You can't do it on your own. The reason is because it is not a linear journey towards your goal in whatever you're trying to do. A linear journey to being wealthy, a linear journey to being healthy, a linear journey to having the best relationships in the world. It is not a linear. It's full of bumps and troughs and peaks and obstacles. And if you're not surrounding yourself by people who do 2 things, number 1, they celebrate you when you are winning. Do you have people to share your success with? Do you have people to share your success with? Do you have people, number 2, that pick you up when you're struggling? That say, you know what? I get it. You're going through a tough time, a time of transition at the moment, but don't worry. We got you, girl. Or we got you, guy. If you're not surrounding yourself with a network that keeps you strong and keeps you resilient, and you're just going home to a family where the priority, and not through criticism, the priority is just surviving. It's not, and it's giving love to the kids, and that's beautiful and all that stuff. But it's surviving, it's not thriving. And inside you is this spirit, this eternal soul that wants to thrive. They don't want to be in the same spot anymore. But if you don't surround yourself with people who bring that out in you, you're going to stay stuck. That's number 5 of what our clients do that are most successful. They bring themselves into a circle. And this is effectively what the Better Body Academy group is. It's a program where you come into a group of people that hold you accountable. And number 6, we're going to finish off with this one. The 6 lessons that I've learned from over 500 clients is this. You are only focused on what you are doing or not doing, and not focusing on who you are. I'm going to say that again. You're only focused on what you are doing or not doing, but you're not focused on who you are. What do I mean by that? Guys, we have 4 pillars in our transformation program. Nutrition and training. These are actions. These are what you do to change your body. But unless you focus on the other 2 pillars of mindset and lifestyle, which are really who you are and how you live, all you're doing is changing surface level things. You're not going to the deeper level. How many of you guys, and it might be you included, know someone who's lost 10, 20, 30 kilograms and then taken it all back off, put it all back on again? They put it back on again, not because they're a failure, not because they were doing the wrong thing, but because they didn't change who they are. They didn't change their values, what they stand for, their mindset. I want to give you the example of a weight loss client. It was simply that what you did was you changed your actions. So you went from being an unhealthy person that started doing healthy person things to that's the change you made. But then over a period of time, the unhealthy you realized that you couldn't keep this up. The unhealthy you that didn't move the identity forward just was like, I can't keep this up anymore. I'm in friction. I'm not in alignment. I'm here at the moment trying to be someone I'm not. The trick here, the evolution that you need to make is around who you are. What do you stand for? What are your values? What is your identity? When you move your identity forward and you step into those shoes, I am a healthy woman. I am a healthy man. That's who I am. And you start to do healthy person things on the surface, you're in alignment. You're in alignment. All of a sudden, it feels easy. You don't sit there and think, I have to go to the gym. You think, I get to go to the gym. You don't think, I have to read this book to understand more about myself. You think, I'm a self-aware person and I'm in a growth mindset, so I'm reading this book because it's going to help me out. This is the difference. This is probably the biggest one of the 6. I'm going to go through them again for you to really cement these in. I would suggest that if you're watching live, go back and listen to the podcast again because these are monumental. Number 1, you work really hard on the wrong things. You work really hard on the wrong things. Guys, I'm sorry, but you don't get a bravery medal for working hard on the wrong things. You just look a bit silly. Okay? Be smarter. Number 2, you went too hard too soon and therefore adopted a failure of an identity of failure. Number 3, you kept telling yourself these false stories and started to believe your own stories. Stop believing the stories, change the story. You are literally just a story. I am a story. Okay? Number 4, you didn't ask for assistance because you equated weakness, asking for assistance with weakness. It's not weak, it's smart. Do you want to stay stuck or do you want to ask for assistance? Number 5, you didn't surround yourself with the right people, which basically meant you were like a crab in a bucket of crabs. You were trying to climb your way out, but every time you made progress, the crabs tried to pull you back down. That's not the environment to be in. The environment to be in is one that empowers you, that lifts you up, that pushes you out. That's what you want to be in. And number 6 is don't stay focused only on actions. Commit some time to getting to know yourself and who you actually are. When you move your identity forward, everything changes. Everything changes. So let's look at some takeaways here, guys. You cannot create a new you with the same mentality that created the stuck you. Hopefully that just like smacks you between the eyes. You cannot create a new you with the same mentality that created the stuck you. You have a chance to step up, guys. You have a chance to step up and create an amazing life, but you can't do it with your hands in your pockets. You cannot do it with your hands in your pockets. You have to take ownership. And I get that you're scared, you're nervous, you fear failure. Absolutely. I still fear failure every day. I remember when I did my first podcast episode, I was literally shaking. And I'd done 100 million live videos before, spoken in front of tons of people, but I was shaking because it was out of my comfort zone. But if you fear that and you keep being shackled by that fear, you stay stuck. So you have to move forward. And with the right system, you can do it. With the right infrastructure, with the right community, you can do it. Guys, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much for joining me live in this podcast. If you feel that you got value out of this podcast, please screenshot this, tag me in it, share it to your Instagram or Facebook stories. I really, really appreciate the support because it helps me to get this message out. We've got some fantastic commentary coming through on the live feeds. Thank you so much. Guys, this is the Better Body Academy podcast, the podcast to come to when you're sick of the dumb diets, unsustainable workout programs, and you're after a permanent mind and body transformation. I'm Jay Stewart. Thank you so much for coming in and joining me live, and I will see you guys in the next episode.
Wolves and Warriors, thank you so much for tuning in. If this podcast is hitting the mark for you and giving you the confidence to start your own personal journey, I want you to hit me up on Facebook or head over to my Instagram at jstewart_BetterBodyAcademy and DM me with the words Better Body Academy. I want to give you the tools to permanently overhaul your mind and body without dumb diets and unsustainable workout programs. Our mission is to achieve 1 million lives transformed, and you, my friend, could be next. So hit me up on Facebook or head over to my Instagram at jstewart_BetterBodyAcademy and DM me with the words Better Body Academy, and we can have a chat about whether we can help you with your transformation goals.